Thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, more landlords than ever are trying to get rid of their properties. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Kentucky, okay? And it's going over the fact that landlords really are trying to get rid of their properties thanks to all the problems and all the mess that they went through during the coronavirus pandemic, and specifically due to the eviction moratorium, okay? But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know if you're trying to get rid of any of your properties due to all this mess and all this nonsense of the eviction moratorium and the coronavirus pandemic. So, this article, it comes from lex18.com, and it says, more landlords try to get rid of property amid pandemic. All right, let's see what it says. Landlords are selling their properties after dealing with pandemic-related hardships. After we heard from the owner of the Red Mile Square Apartments last week about having to liquidate his property, we found many other multifamily listings on the market. Real estate expert Michael Prather says it's a trend he saw coming. I've been anticipating, as soon as investors have the ability to, in essence, get their tenants out so they can sell a property, that would be an option that a good amount of investors would take, said Prather. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of investors who are just completely burned out by all of the nonsense that went on during the pandemic, okay? All the stuff with the eviction moratorium, all the nightmares of trying to get rental assistance, it just isn't worth it, especially to smaller landlords. They're just going to start selling their properties off. And in the case of single family homes, a lot of the times it's going to be to owner occupants instead of other investors. In the case of the investors who own multifamily, they're going to sell to larger investors. And I'm talking like, in some cases, corporate investors. And these investors, they are going to buy the properties up, right? Try to get rid of all the tenants, fix these properties up, raise the rents, and they're going to have extremely strict, selection criteria for anyone who wants to lease a unit from them, because they don't want to have a bunch of tenants that they don't have paying rent and they have to go through the eviction process. And all landlords who are investing right now are looking into the future and looking at the past and saying, hey, what happened last year could happen again. Another eviction moratorium could come up. The government could just suddenly create a new crisis and this could happen again. So they're trying to basically minimize their risk, hedge their bets, create the greatest amount of safety possible so that they can buy these investments and still make a profit. So yeah, I mean, this real estate agent here, he's absolutely right. Prather runs the Prather Real Estate team in Keller Williams Bluegrass. He says owners are likely taking advantage of a hot housing market and offloading their property to investors who can afford it. During the pandemic, many landlords lost thousands in unpaid rent, which likely made selling more enticing. There's no moratorium for the people owning these properties that have debt that they have got to pay back to institutional lenders, said Prather. Yeah, there's no moratorium on mortgage payments for these landlords, okay? There's no moratorium on utility payments, on insurance, on maintenance. There's no moratorium on any of that. The landlords had to continue to pay those bills, and they weren't getting anything in from some of these tenants. And that's what created this crisis in the first place. So like this agent said right there, these landlords, they see the hot real estate market right now. They know that they can make profit on properties they bought years back, and they're selling. In fact, I myself did some of that, okay? I sold two properties last year, and I made a huge profit on both of them because right now the market is so hot. I didn't sell them because of the eviction moratorium, but it certainly was one of the factors in the reason why I ended up selling them. So yeah, I don't blame any landlord for not wanting to be in the business right now or trying to downsize, their investment portfolio so that they can have something that's a little bit more manageable, get their money and just get out. Okay. So this is becoming a problem all throughout the entire country. And this article is just highlighting that fact. For investors, Prather says now is a good time for them to negotiate with sellers for better deals. The result we're seeing is a market that gives struggling owners a way out, but is also creating a new issue for those in need of a place to stay. People find places for real cheap in these, neighborhoods. They revamp them and sell them for way more money than what they initially invested a lot of times. This displaces people in these communities, said Shay Lamar with the Lexington Fair Housing Council. Yeah, so they're going over what I just said. Basically, new investors are coming in. They're fixing up these properties. They're renting them out for much higher amounts. The former tenants can't afford to live in these properties anymore because they're all fixed up. They're all nice. And this is creating a affordable housing crisis and might even possibly be leading to homelessness in some cases. So yeah, eviction moratoriums actually caused an affordable housing crisis. And that's what these people, I'm always talking about unintended consequences. Well, that right there is the biggest one that tenants are going to face due to all this mess. Now, with limited supply of affordable housing and places accepting housing vouchers, those tenants have to move quickly will be left with few options. A lot of people go to shelter. Some people live out of their cars. Some can stay with family and friends. But for the most part, people are really left in a situation that they're stuck on the street, wondering exactly, as you asked me, where they're going to go, said Lamar. Wow. Yeah, I mean, bad situation for the tenants overall. But, landlords, they got to do what they got to do. I mean, that's the truth. They have to do what they have to do. Otherwise, they're going to go completely out of business and, they're going to suffer the ultimate consequences. So they're going to sell their properties so that they don't face foreclosure, bankruptcy, or other financial distress. That's it. Yeah, so interesting article. I have one more article here that I'm going to go over real quick. And let's see if I can pull it up. So this article is coming from the Wall Street Journal, and it says soaring rents make it a very good time to own an apartment building. All right. Despite a year-long national eviction ban and continuing pandemic, it has rarely been a better time to be a big apartment building landlord. National asking rents rose 10.3% in August, measured on an annual basis, according to RealPage, a rental management software company which analyzed more than 13 million professionally managed apartments. That marked the first double-digit increase in the more than 20 years this data has been collected, and in several hot cities, the rent increases were much greater than the national figure. So that's why a lot of investors and they're looking to buy properties right now, and that's why landlords are able to sell their properties even though they just went through this horrible time. Now, my suggestion to anyone who is able to get through this is begin to get your money ready and look to start purchasing, because there's going to be a lot of distressed sellers out there right now, a lot of distressed landlords who just want to get completely out of the business. Okay, I'm actively looking right now to do my next purchase, and my suggestion for other landlords who still want to invest in real estate is to do the same.